What's up, guys? It's Doodly Squatch. Let's have some fun. Alright, here we go. So, today's doodle, couldn't even tell you what I was thinking. Working with shapes and figuring out what I wanted to draw. Mostly just because I haven't had much time to do much of anything. A lot of work. It's holiday time. Things get wild. But I was able to at least get a pretty nice composition and try out some new interesting things. But yeah, got to, it eventually evolves into a good old skull bunny. And that's, here comes a burp. Just a little one. Back to an old classic. I love drawing skull bunnies. Couldn't tell you why. But it got me thinking about the art and artists that I've been inspired by, or that I enjoy, that you guys should check out, that sort of stuff. And kind of either where I found them or what the effect was, that sort of thing. Have a little sippy. There we go. First thing I thought of, at least, that caught my eye, I was thinking about Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. That, if you ever went to a Hot Topic in the 90s, or late 90s, early 2000s, you would see this on the shelf there. And I was always a fan of that. It took a while for me to finally get it. I think one of my friends eventually bought it for me. And it's the artist, his name, I hate if I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, Jonan Vasquez. I really enjoyed his layouts in the comics. It wasn't your traditionals, 12 panel grid or whatever. He just sort of drew the outlines as he went. So, the pages could be just wild. There'd be, it could be a full spread, or it could be, 20 little things, and then he would just put just random stuff on it. And then the other comic that he did around that time, Squee, which was, the little boy that lived next door to Johnny. But for me, the thing that I sort of took from it was I liked the interesting proportions. Everyone was kind of like skinny, or they were just like blobby fat, just awful. And just sort of the chaotic mess that it was. Johnny talking to a teddy bear, then flipping out and stabbing the teddy bear and screaming at it, and there's these, styrofoam, like Pillsbury Doughboy things in his basement that are talking to him, and the story was definitely kind of all over the place, but just that art was really interesting. I loved that it was black and white, so there's lots of blood, but it's just all just jet black, so it wasn't so, I don't know, gory, awful, that sort of thing. And then Invader Zim came out, and then everyone got really big on that, and the show only had like 3 seasons, and people just campaigned for more, and eventually we got a Netflix movie, which was good. I enjoyed it. That sort of thing. But I don't know, the popularity of Zim kind of made it almost to where I wanted to distance myself from that style of art, because then people would just say, oh, well, you're just drawing Zim. It's like, no, I'm drawing Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, or JDHM, or Nee, as he went by. Around that same time, there was a fantasy artist by the name of Gerald Brom, or just Brom as I knew him at the time. And I discovered him through Magic the Gathering, he had a number of cards that he had designed that I had in my deck that I really liked his sort of, pale, almost like vampire people that he had in most of his art. A lot of the things he draws it was interesting, almost like, he drew on kind of the like BDSM scene and like punk stuff, so it's like, elves and that sort of stuff, but then they're wearing like crazy leather, or like, almost like he worked on Wastelands, I think it was called, but almost like a fantasy Mad Max sort of thing. And I loved the aesthetics. I loved his color palette because it was limited, but still kind of rich and fun. Me being colorblind, it was nice to be able to at least see everything he was doing and enjoy it. And with this drawing I'm working on right here, I tried to go for a more like painterly look. So I'm drawing over the outlines and blending as I go, almost trying to do like an oil painting thing. One interesting thing, Brahm came and spoke at the college I was attending at the time, many years ago, like 15-ish, more like 14 years ago. I think I had 2 kids at the time, but my folks watched them, so my wife and I were able to both go, and it was interesting, hearing him speak about, making it in the art world and trying to get into things. And one thing he said that I really enjoyed, he's like, if a drawing is feeling kind of bland and lame, he's like, put an eyeball where it doesn't belong. And the painting in mind, a guy holding his hand up, and he had an eyeball in the center of his hand. So that is definitely a thing I try and use in my own sketches and art. And, if I'm drawing something and it just feels kind of mundane, it's like, all right, weird body parts, here we go. Gerald Brahm, oof. And he was very nice. It was really nice to meet him. Really cool guy. Another artist that I continue to be inspired by is a gal named Bryn Matheny. Bryn and I went to high school together, and after high school, she got into kind of the fantasy art and design scene. She's been in a number of art books that I collect, and she makes just these fun, fantastical creatures. She always had a very unique sort of line art style that, golly, I was always, I remain jealous of. I love her stuff. And it's really nifty that I knew her, and get to continue to watch her do things. It's been a bit since I've been in touch. I need to get back in touch with her. I remember hopping on one of her Twitch streams and saying hey. But yeah, so her style, and it's kind of nice because it's a local flavor, someone I knew, so it stands out to me that ways. Let's see, other artists. Obviously Sean Koss, his whole brand, Any Means Necessary. My brain just broke. Just still, I'm blown away how much he can crank out on a similar theme. It's he's always been doing dark art, and he just continues to keep it fresh and interesting, and just gets it out there every day. His hustle is amazing, and it's the reason why I know I'm not a successful artist, because I'm not out there pushing myself like he does. And seeing him work and just sort of build this empire has been just super cool. He's recently started collabing with Invincible, the Amazon series, and redesigning like Typo Negative album art and making shirts and artwork around that. Trying to think. There is a artist whom I was introduced to earlier in college, but I've since, I've been following him for a long time. His name's Carlos Huante, and his stuff is amazing. I definitely see myself in him a lot when it comes to his art, with just these crazy sort of physical mishmashes of body parts and eyes and monsters, and he works as a concept artist on, golly, every movie I enjoy. I'm always blown away because, obviously with, NDAs and stuff like that, he can't just be like saying what he's working on, but, once the films are out, he can, and he's kind of got the go ahead. He'll post things on Instagram. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, I worked on freaking, Victor Frankenstein, or, the It movies, or, that sort of stuff. And it's great seeing what he's come up with, and it's always a little disheartening to see what movies kind of passed on. Like if they would have leaned hard into his Pennywise designs, oh my gosh, those movies would have been like 100 times better. I love the movies as they are, but seeing what could have been is really hard. And I love it. I absolutely love seeing, behind the scenes, what could have been, or just, seeing the process behind those sorts of things. But I have a DVD of Carlos Huante through Gnomon Workshop. That's GNOMON, where he sort of walks through creating a creature. And I remember following along with that in my college illustration class, and just being blown away. Loved it. But I've gushed enough. Interesting thing with this particular drawing, I ended up doing 2 renderings of it, where one I left it painterly, and then another one I put outlines on it like I normally do. So editor, go ahead and throw those 2 up, and we can have a compare and contrast. Which one do you guys like better? Why? I like them both, honestly. One could be a fun painting, and another one's just, what you'd expect out of, a normal video from me. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. Anywho, happy holidays. We got Thanksgiving coming up, and Christmas is right around the corner. I'm feeling good about these videos, getting them out. It's almost been a year on YouTube, so cool. I can't recall last time I looked. It's 60 something subscribers. So hi, all of you. I hope you are still enjoying these, and I'm not just a burden on your timeline. But yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.